back to the Engine Performance Expo. We are live in studio. Another hidden horsepower with celebrity engine builder Lake. I'm super excited about this one because we're in Bristol, Tennessee, Thunder Valley Nationals this weekend, Bristol Dragway, and we talk about Bristol. Roy Johnson grew up here, been racing at Bristol since what, like 1965?
Well, when NHRA started, I won their first super stock race. When was that? 70?
Who knows? I probably wasn't even born yet.
60 something. Maybe it's 68 or 9. I can't remember.
So, but let's go before that, because they built the racetrack, Larry Carrier and those guys. And so what were you doing prior to then? And then they built this amazing super track right in your backyard and give you a playground that obviously fundamentally changed your life.
Well, at that time, I was a wannabe anything. And I think I started out there with a 62 Plymouth. And that was AHRA, I think. I believe that's what it started with. And I did have some trophies or class winning stuff, you know. But I think it's all rotted and fell apart.
So what got you into drag racing? What made you choose?
That's just something I've always wanted to do.
Okay.
First, I started round tracking.
All right, yeah, a lot of circle track around here. Lots.
Yeah. Anyway, we ran at Sportsman's Speedway and one over at Kingsport. And I worked day and night with that. And my friend started wanting me to go help him on Sunday with his drag car.
Okay.
And I loved that too. So that's really, you might say, what got me into it was him. I was a mechanic on the line at the Chrysler place.
Okay.
And I wanted to have the fastest Chrysler car around, and
I think you ended up achieving that, by the way.
well, this was long before that come along. We were just, I think he had a GTX 67 GTX 440 when we go over to the little drag strip over in Kingsport, and that's when I met Airwood. You know, when I partnered with Airwood and Johnson, that was in '68.
Okay.
And we just advanced from there, and then along about 70, I guess, no, 78, the crunch hit with gas and the crisis. I had to quit everything. I said, I'm done racing, never do it again.
Famous last words.
Yeah. Along came Alan, and you know the rest of the story.
Yep.
Yes.
But that's what got me into it, is my friend, me working as a mechanic. My dream was to have the fastest Mopar, and been able to help him run his car at Kingsport. That was before Bristol came along.
Well, that makes sense, right? If you're a mechanic working at a dealership and, hey, I'm a Mopar guy, you want to have the fastest Mopar. That makes total sense.
Well, exactly what I was going to key in on as well. It's like, this is your work. You want to prove that you know what you're doing. Like, you felt a connection to those machines. It's so crazy in the world, you know, of high performance cars. You feel a connection with John a little earlier, Pontiac. Right? You with Chrysler and Mopar. You were connected. Your soul was connected, and it lasted 50 years later.
Yep. Yeah, that's where it all started. First, I did not want to work on a Ford. I did not want to work on a Chevrolet. I wanted to work on Chrysler products, and the only place you do that, go get a job at the dealership.
Okay.
And it was tough.
So where did that come from? Where did that connection to Mopar come from? Like what John was saying was getting a ride in his sister's boyfriend's GTO. What was it for you?
Well, I guess I was a fan of Petty's.
Okay, yep, that's fair enough, yeah.
And Weaversville track, over here in Weaversville, North Carolina, the wife and I and the family go over early on Sunday morning and get to park right in the second turn and sitting there watching them. And then another friend took me over to Petty's, met Maurice and all of them in their shop, and it just sold me, I guess.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
And this was early days of my marriage. We didn't have enough money to go to Petty's. I rode with somebody else. Yeah, and so that's just, I don't know, it just, I guess, surroundings drove me to it.
Yeah, I got it. So how did Alan get into racing? If you were sworn it off after the gas crunch and everything, how did that come back?
Well, I guess it came back. I started driving a little Opel and competition eliminator,
Yeah.
NHRA. And we were still running. I guess I need to back up a little bit. We started running my 62 and my Challenger, and Alan wanted to drive, and that's where he started out with my 62 car. And then I got into the competition eliminator because I'd sold all of my stuff because I had to quit. And Alan was racing and 2 kids trying to go to college, and he was trying to go to college, had 2 kids that we kept overnight for him. And I sold everything. I said, we're done racing. Nobody can afford it. You certainly can't with 2 kids. And so he got lucky in 95, and he come and he said, we're going racing again. I said, no, you can go on. And so he brought a little dragster car, Super Gas at 990 or whatever it is.
990.
And we started going to a few races, and but he'd run that car, but we'd come back and go watch Pro Stock and competition eliminator. And in the beginning, he said, we'll build a comp car. And I said, no, we can't chase the pencil. And then he said,
Chase the pencil?
yeah, you run fast and they'll pencil you down,
Got it.
Got it. Like now, they do the index part now.
Yes.
And you do it yourself. But then it was pencil time. But he said, we're going Pro Stock racing. I said, oh, Bob Glidden told him, he said, boy, you're the craziest man in the world, go Pro Stock racing. And we did.
Yeah, you did.
They did. Fast forward, they won. They won. Wow, that's great. But you made a point though with Alan, like education was a big deal. Like you from what I understand, you told him like, hey, you got to go to college, you got to get an education, otherwise, like we're doing nothing.
Right. Well, at that time, him and his wife both was going to college, and I said, man, you cannot mess with this race car and pass grades in college, because a race car is 24/7 really. And so he kind of got mad at me for a little while, but he's glad now that I did. That was the Allen story of kind of, I guess I ran him off, but he didn't really run off. He came right back when he got his education and got him a job, and as he owns the company now.
Well, I always say the family that races together stays together.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So I know from me and my dad, that's some of our favorite experiences and memories are going racing together. Sure. Sometimes it's not even the time at the track; it's the drive to the race, the chance to talk and do things can be big. So I think you're 100% right on that, Joe.
And for those that aren't involved, it's like really hard to create that scenario, right? Like over the road, an hour and a half, 2 hours just to get there. The great conversations, fathers, sons, fathers, daughters, etc. That bonding time, the hard work. Getting kicked in the teeth proverbially, those are experiences that you can't create in the regular world. Racing creates it.
So when you came back to go Pro Stock racing, were there any other Mopars running then?
Well, the Dodge boys.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, the Dodge boys were running. And
forgive me, I'm a NASCAR guy. I don't know all the NHRA history.
It was kind of a big thing. They had a big thing going.
Yeah, I guess when we was thinking about it, watching the Pro Stock, I guess Darrell and Scott was doing it real well. And we started out, I wanted to buy an engine from them. Alan said, just buy one of their old engines, that'll get us started. And we wound up, couldn't buy nothing, so we got Steve Smith.
Yeah.
Smith, you remember?
Yes.
In Indianapolis. He agreed to build us, if we could do 2 motors, and then Billy Stepp's dad, he agreed to do 2 motors. So that's the only way Steve would do the motors, because it's totally different from his Chevrolet.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good start for me. Steve built 2 motors. He built 2 for Billy and them. And I took it from there. After a year or so, Steve didn't want to mess with the Mopars much anymore, because it's so different,
Right, yeah, very different.
And I kind of took it from there and started trying to learn and advance, you know.
So had you? I mean, when you were racing yourself, did you build your own stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I always, even around track, I always built my own stuff. But the Pro Stock was totally a different scenario.
That has got to be the steepest learning curve I've ever heard of.
Right.
To jump out of not building racing engines for 20 years, probably sounds like, or 10 years.
Yeah, let's go Pro Stock racing.
Right.
Yeah. I know. Well, look, he's having PTSD to the moment right now. It's like, oh man.
Steve was a big help to me to get started because he let me see everything that was going on, and I saw everything he was doing, and I probably never could have got started if I'd just done it all from scratch, you know.
Right.
But so I stepped through that, and then Dale Ike, you remember the late Dale?
Yes.
Dale Ike got involved with Mopar, and he advanced the cylinder head in a little bit. As Bob Glidden said, they call them Pawnee Dodge heads. That's what Bob Glidden called it. It said Pawnee Dodge head. But anyway, Dale built a motor, and it was kind of totally different than what Steve was doing. And for some reason, Dale and Mopar split, and he called me wanting to sell the motors to me. Well, we hadn't really hit on anything yet, so I told Alan, I said, what should we do? And he said, hey, we'll get them all down here and let's dyno them, then we'll pick out 2 of the best ones.
Sure.
So he had 6 or 7 motors, so one of his guys brought them all to my shop, and he stayed there till we dynoed them. And we picked out, I put the one motor on the dyno, the last one we done, and as soon as I pulled the lever on, I said, whoa, that's right there. That's the motor I want. So we wound up with that motor and options on another one.
Right.
And that's the one we won Columbus with. Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
Our very first race. 98, 97.
Okay.
Anyway, that's what got me started, because thanks to Ike, I learned enough off of that I could take it and just keep advancing.
Right. So some of the details, though, then that your previous engine experience collided with the realities of Pro Stock. Can you share anything there? Because we talk about it all the time. Like, this is just another level, another gear of refinement, of precision, of thinking about valve geometry, what's happening in the engine. Do you recall anything that just in the time you surprised you or kind of blew you away that was what it took?
Well, to build a Pro Stock motor, my best one to my worst one, they all use, you have to do the same things. You just got to learn that it is so fine-tuned, or fine like a piece of jewelry,
Yep.
It's got to be just right. And as I look back in the early days of my start, I wondered how they even cranked up. That's so stupid. And it got down to where at the end, it's just, you did it, everything, it has to be, as I always told my guys, what you did today is not good enough tomorrow.
Right.
I don't care how good you are today, it won't get it tomorrow. You got to keep refining every move you make.
Right. Yeah, you didn't start off with a profilometer.
No, I didn't.
But you ended up with one.
Yeah, I sure did. But that, in the old days, I used to sit home like this, and my wife would spray kerosene on it in the backyard, and all that crap run out on the ground.
Yeah.
That's where I started. And today you have one of these CNCs to do it for you. So that's how refined it got.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it, I look at Pro Stock, and you're talking about thousandths of a second. A couple weeks ago, right? Matt got beat by Greg by what? Like 6 thousandths or something?
Yeah.
And then Erica wins St. Louis by what? 1 thousandths? That's insane level of competition.
And that includes the driver and all the gear shifting and all the time and effort and work and man hours to come up on the short end of that. It's got to be a bit of a heartbreaker.
Yeah, I've been on both ends of it. just like Bristol, in the year that we tied Mike Edwards, he won.
Yes.
We
yes.
won.
The closest race ever.
Yeah. And what did he lose by? Just well, it was a tie. They said.
Well, like 0-0-0 out into the.
You know that. That just broke us. I mean, we just about died after that.
Oh, I bet. Well, because this is your home track, too,
Yes.
right? I mean, that's got to be something where when you come into your home turf, right? That's like everybody else. Yeah, we race against these guys all year long, but this is my backyard.
Yep. Well, it came down to that thousandths of a second. It was all on the starting line.
Unreal. I don't want to bring up negative stuff, but it's illuminating to me that you kept going. Alan was involved in one of the most serious pro stock crashes that I've ever seen, and even to this day, people talk about it. Barrel rolling, pirouetting, all of that stuff. I've got a little personal connection to it, but that was kind of early in the pro stock endeavor, and you guys kept going. You said we're going to keep on going through this. What was that like for you?
Well, I stayed at the starting line. Listen, Rick Stewart was a starter then, and I said, Rick, are they talking down there? And he said, yeah. And Rick held his microphone out or speaker where I could hear, and whoever went to it, I can't remember the guy's name, was the first into the car and said, well, he's unbuckling, getting out.
There you go.
There it is.
Yeah, just having something, right? Just having some inkling. I remember my dad crashed at Pocono, and I was a teenager, and so I ran gas. So between each pit stop, you can only have 2 cans of gas in the pits, right? So when you get to the pit stop, you have to run back to the pumps and refill. So I'm running gas back, and of course I can hear on the radio to crash.
This was your dad crashed?
Yeah. So Dad crashed me at Pocono. The car's up in the air and all this mess. And
Pocono, by the way.
right,
It's
a big mess. It's turn 1 too, right? I mean, the longest, fastest straightaway, and he crashes in the wall, and nothing. You hear nothing. And I didn't see him until they wheel him in on a stretcher into the infield care center. And it's the time. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, being able to have that little glimpse into, okay, at least he's unbuckling has got to be like just the biggest sigh of relief.
Yeah, you don't know.
My wife had to hate that, though.
Oh, she about went crazy.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. She went running down the return road or whatever. She got down there when he was getting out of the car. And, of course, I just stood there, and it seemed like it was a day from the time he wrecked till I heard something on the radio.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. I'm sure.
But he got back in the car. My personal connection to that is I was bracket racing pretty heavily at the time, and we were looking for a set of tires. So we were walking through the pits, and takeoffs on a Pro Stocker were perfect for the car we had at the time. And you guys had a set of tires for sale, and I bought them for $150. Gator Nationals, that's the race I go to every year.
Yeah.
So we went back, put them on our Super Comp Dragster, or the car we had at the time, which memory kind of eludes me right now. But so the interaction, we had talked to you guys about them, and so we were focused heavily on you. This is the Amoco car at the time.
Yes.
We were focused heavily. You guys run, like, if not the only Dodge out there at the time, like, thought you were cool people and you were super nice, and the idea of like a bracket racer
you.
going up to
Said
very
was
welcome,
nice.
Morty. Very welcome. Well, that was before. Now I'm not so sure. But, and you have an interaction with someone, and then you're connected to them for the rest of the weekend. And then the incident was just a horrific nightmare. But Alan gets out, and you guys came back, and the best days of your team were ahead of you. And I just thought that was great how you kept kept going.
Well, another negative is 2007, I had the heart attack.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
We didn't qualify, and sorry.
No, you're good, man. Listen, this is why we wanted you to be on here, man, to get a chance to tell your story, man.
Real life.
Everyone knows Alan because he was the guy out there running in front, but he doesn't run down the track without you and his father and son together, and that's why we wanted you to be here, to be able to have a chance for you to tell your story. So yeah, your real emotion is real, and don't be afraid to share it, because everybody's got to know that.
Yeah,
they got to know that it takes heart and soul, and you pour your heart and soul into this. That's the right emotion to have.
Now, we came back after the heart attack. motor-wise, sorry guys.
No,
You're good, man.
don't
You're
be.
good.
Don't be. Hey, you know, you made it, and the people that cared about you all rallied around you at that time. I
Right.
remember that. I wasn't working for NHRA at that time, but I was a fan and I was paying attention. And you know, anytime you hear it, someone in the extended family has a problem. I didn't understand. Now that I work out there on a weekly basis to think about that connection, it's just amazing how it was able to come together and you guys were able to go on to great things. But it had to be scary.
I didn't have time to get scared on that one, really. I went down to the track. They carried me in. And the guy said, "We don't see nothing. All your signs are right." They took an x-ray of my chest.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the boy coming in. And he said, "Here's his problem." That's the last thing I remembered till I woke up upstairs.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So we went on from that point, and it seemed like the lights got brighter. I started seeing new motor combinations, and that's when we started kicking butt.
It was all after that.
After that,
How about that?
Yeah.
yeah. So if you look back at our record, along about 2009 and 10 is when I hit on a new motor combination, and we started running up front. And at the time, we just had so much power we couldn't control the car, you know. So
Right.
we had to look at a different chassis option. And that's when things started happening. And we started qualifying. I was looking at statistics before I came up here. I wish I had brought them. But, what, 27, 28 wins? 400 and some starts. I know after the fact, we over 500 starts, you know.
Right.
So, I guess during the heart attack thinking, things brightened up and I saw the light.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, don't ever feel bad about getting emotional, because thinking about none of those things that you experienced, that Alan experienced, I don't think they happen if it goes the other way on that day. And of course, like, you got to be here for so many great things after
Yeah.
it, and it didn't have to go that way.
Well,
And,
it's that second chance. It's like, hey, I saw the light. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, man, life is short. If I'm going to do this, we're giving it all.
Yeah.
And then you find that next thing. I mean, you guys, y'all are dominant. I mean, let's just be honest.
So which chassis did you switch to get power to the ground? Unless that's top secret.
No, it's nothing. A Haas car. We
Yeah.
went to Jerry Haas car and we brought in a shock specialist.
And I think that car's still out there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's for
Alan?
sale somewhere.
Okay.
The
Oh, you-
championship
yeah,
car.
okay.
Yeah, I saw it on Facebook not long ago. Somebody's wanting to sell it, but it was different thinking, and I connected with some of my old connections at Mopar Chrysler. At that time, he was in NASCAR.
Who was that?
Ted Flack.
I thought so. I thought that may
Yeah.
be Ted Flack.
And I said, "Ted, we need help in the back of the car." And he said, "Well, I can't help you." I said, "Why not? You know somebody that can." So anyway, that's where Adam Lambert came in.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so if people don't know, Adam Lambert,
He's
shot guy.
Yeah.
We won't say any more than that, but yeah.
And at that time it was Penske, and they
Yeah.
brought him on as a team member with us. And that's when we come up with a new shock. I guess they still use today, or probably a spin-off from it.
Yeah.
But that helped us along. We had more power. We got it to the ground, and we was able to start kicking butt.
Yeah.
And everything shocks now, like the shocks they're using, they lower down, out way down the track. Is that what you were using, or was that like a?
We had it all.
Okay. So there was innovation. See, I'm totally okay with that. Like, that was an innovation that became the standard.
Well, in the beginning, see, there was nothing in the rule book. It just said a shock, you know.
Right.
Not. So we had a cylinder in it that let it down in the lights, or after it got in high gear.
Sure.
Let the back of the car down, and then we had electric graphing to where it grafted the shocks, and it would soften the blow to help it get over the hump.
Right. Yeah.
And you have to think.
Yeah, but drag racing's just going straight, guys. So there's not a lot to it.
Yeah, but you'll see this weekend at Bristol how bumpy the track is. That helps you get over that.
Oh yeah. Like I said, think about how many cars do spin the tires, not just at the starting line, but down the track.
Oh.
And that's the end of the run right there.
Bristol's got the tunnels. Charlotte's got some tunnels like that.
Yeah.
And it was one of the other tracks that was a little bumpy. Can't remember. I guess it's Houston that has a water issue that you always got you in trouble. But
and we've had some resurfacing lately. There have been like 3 or 4 tracks have been resurfaced over the years that maybe were bumpy back in the day. I know Gainesville got bumpy for a while, not quite as bumpy as those other ones.
Yeah, but I guess Dallas was the leader in modern tracks. Dallas, the concrete all the way.
Yes.
That was nice.
Just came from there.
Yeah.
It's great. We miss you out there, honestly. I think.
Well, I don't really miss the racing. I don't really miss all the hard work, but I miss all the friends.
Yeah, the people. Yeah.
All the people.
Earlier, I looked out there and it's you and WJ and John, Kazi, and Callie's talking. I'm like, I just want to be a fly on the wall.
Well, I mean, of course, it's kind of hard for me to hold WJ. He's got more lies to tell than I do.
We'll get to those.
But wait. So he does have one on John Kazi, though.
Oh, yeah.
So tell the story about Kazi.
Well, he got mad a while ago. They had a 50-foot nationals at Muncie, Indiana.
50 foot. That's all we're running.
Yeah, 50 foot. They had probably 400 cars there.
Didn't matter what kind of car it was.
Didn't matter. I run rails. I run funny cars. I run street cars. I run everything. But it was a 3/10 tree. In other words, blank.
Yep.
Instant tree. To get a good light, you had the deep stage.
Yep.
And it was 400 or 500 cars. When it come down to the end, it was John and I left. He had a Mustang and I had my Dodge Challenger at the time. And what did he say? He read.
He read. Yeah. He still remembers it.
But that was cool racing, and just it's on Saturday night, and whatever kind of car was there, street cars, any of it.
It didn't matter. Yeah.
It didn't matter. You just get in the lane, and whatever you come up against, that's who you run.
The 3/10 tree and 50 foot is kind of a great equalizer.
Did you get into second gear?
Oh no.
First gear, bring it out.
No, just let her go.
Awesome.
Foot brake.
Even better.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Awesome. Let's talk about the championship year because all of this that we talked about would be a great story, but the championship was like the culmination of all of it. In 2012, you guys were able to go out there and best the whole world of pro stock. We just saw Greg Anderson win his 98th win. He was there. Jason Lyon was there.
Yes.
All of these people were there, and you beat them all. When you look back at that season, what made the difference?
We were still refining the car chassis shock deal. We brought on another consultant with us to help our crew chief, and all of it just fell in place. And what made us win it, we was a lot more consistent on Sunday. Yeah. Alan was driving good. The car would go down the track, and that's what I say, it's consistent.
Right.
Being able to click off the same thing every time.
And that's got to be super challenging with all the changes in the atmosphere and stuff. I mean, I remember when I first started coming around the pro stock stuff. I mean, you were nice enough to let me come to the shop and talk to me about stuff. And, taking a Dominator and then splitting the Dominator, the number of manifolds you guys had to go through. I mean, it seemed like back then at least, there was like an infinite number of things you could change. So the chances of you dialing yourself out were probably better than the chances of you dialing yourself in.
For sure. You can, everybody says you race the dyno. You don't race that at the track, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of times look at this power. And we learned real quick the power we made on the dyno didn't always work at the racetrack. So that's what you had to be so careful with. You had to take what you learn on the dyno and go to a test, or after you was qualified well, maybe stick it in one run where you can compare it to everybody else. And sometimes you wasn't near as smart as you thought you were, because you dial yourself out, as you say.
So thinking about that split dominator, that was one of the things I was like, that's kind of cool. Where did that come from? What was the origin of taking a dominator and cutting it in half and then moving it?
I don't know. We couldn't do that with NHRA Pro Stock. That's mountain motor.
Okay.
I think a mountain motor, their cylinder head is so far apart and so much bigger than what we use. I think that was probably Ricky Smith days. May have brought that in.
I think Glidden might have done it until they told him to stop.
You think so?
It's in there somewhere. We can double check. But then again, like 4 2s instead of 2 4s.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it kind of makes sense. You put them right over the intake. But
but think about how many manifolds? It has to be like an almost uncountable number of sheet metal manifolds.
Well,
you had to have
in my upstairs of my forgotten about stuff, you can go up there now and there's a pile and fill that room right there.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
All right, another aspect of your career that you and Alan had just unbelievable dominance in Denver at Bandimere Speedway, the Dodge or Mopar Mile High Nationals. So did you win like 4 in a row there? And during that era, you'd go there, it was almost an automatic win. Like, just chalk these guys up, and sure enough, you go there and win the race.
I didn't tell him about this. I didn't prompt him at all. I promise.
This is just a statement of fact.
I said nothing about our conversation.
What did he say?
I didn't say a word.
Didn't he?
What, you won 4 in a row, didn't you?
I don't know. I think we were in the final 10 times and won 8.
What did he tell you, Lake? What's the story?
Listen, we were just chatting when I was asking him to be a guest.
Did he say not
on the
bring it
Engine
up?
Performance Expo? He maybe has shared a little bit of insight on how that was maybe a happy accident of the combination you did on there.
Oh,
and I didn't tell him anything about that.
No, I follow drag racing.
No, you're talking about the gear set.
Yes, sir. I didn't mention that. So, yeah, if you want to tell him.
When in the early days, and I'm not sure it was the first year or the second year.
Okay.
We'll go to Denver. We had whatever transmission you were running. At that time, we were all running Craig stuff, Liberty.
Yep.
So I was procrastinating, but I was working on motors.
Right.
I said, hey, we ain't got no gears for Denver. You always have to change transmission gears and rear end. And I call up Craig. I need a gear set for Denver. Roy, I never even thought about you. I don't have anything left. What am I going to do? I said, Craig, what am I going to do? He said, let me look and see if I can find anything that you might be able to use.
Now, before you go on, explain why you need different gears and transmissions just at Denver.
Right.
Well, there's no air, and you make no power there. And the power is all probably close to 200 horsepower.
Off, just because of the altitude.
Yeah. And so what do you got to do? It's you got to have something to make up the power.
Right.
And that's why we changed rear end gear. We tried to change tire size down to a little smaller diameter. And we changed transmission ratio. So when you let the clutch out, you can get that weight moving right then. And back to the story with Craig, he calls me up and he said, Roy, I don't have anything that I think you can run out there, but he said, I've got one gear set left that I'll send it to you and you use it for nothing, and it was way off from what I didn't know what it should run, but it was way off from what he said I needed.
Yeah, right.
And I said, send the darn thing on, we'll make it work some way or another. And I think that's when we really hit on, you got to have more gear than you think you do, rear end, transmission, and a smaller tire than you think you do. That was the 3 or 4 things I really focused on. I didn't change nothing about the motor really, other than just a little tune-up stuff. And we just hit on that, and we kept it pretty much to ourselves,
for a long time.
But I have to say that Craig accidentally
gave you a gift.
Gave me a gift.
That's incredible. That is incredible. And everybody else out there is
Yeah, for all the NHRA pro stock gurus who love this stuff, how cool is that?
Right, like something
happy accident.
Well, because now we talk about it a lot on the broadcast team. Like everybody's shifting faster. Like it's just a totally different animal up there. And you guys had this dominance, and so. If memory serves me right, because you guys tested ahead of time. Alan used to always tell me, "Oh, well, we tested and we learned some things in the test." Is he lying to me? Was he making up a story, or you guys?
Alan wouldn't do that, would he?
It's like, watch any of the F1 races and listen to Lewis Hamilton just totally sandbag and lie the whole race.
Well, we don't know.
So the front tires are going away. Fastest lap.
That is great, though. That is great, and that dominance lasted a long period of time, but then eventually they caught up.
Oh yeah. Well, I think we had leased some motors and had other team members there, and we had to do some of the same things to their car, and of course we control mostly what went in their car,
right?
And they didn't know a whole lot of it, but they could look on the computer graph and figure it out, and I think some of them did and probably shared that.
Right. It gets around. I mean, nothing stays secret forever.
It's amazing you held it as long as you did.
Well, Alan always drove good there for some reason. You look at his driving there, he was always in the thick of it, except when he run Larry Morgan that time.
You got to stage.
Oh, good old Larry, yeah.
Right? That's part of it. You got to stage.
Yeah.
A 2-minute burn down, which was like the longest burn down we had seen until this year. But at least they got to race.
Yeah.
Right? This year.
Yeah, that was in the final, wasn't it?
Yep.
But we enjoyed that. Being Denver Chrysler sponsored it.
That was a big deal, right?
It always give us a boost in the arm to work harder too,
So talking about Ted Flack and the Mopar guys, I mean, talk about that. What did that mean to your program to have somebody like Ted and have that factory support?
Well, that just got us over another hurdle, I'll say. I mean, if you didn't have somebody like that you could turn to that had enough pull to bring somebody in that was get things done,
Yeah.
It's easy to keep doing the same old thing, but when you're going down a new alley, you got to have a totally new set of eyes.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the same thing all the time, you get to where you can't see it right.
Right.
And that's kind of what we got stagnated on the back part of the car there, I thought.
Let's talk about the, Pro Stock now, they have the, you can run a Chevy in every car, you can run a Chrysler in any car. It's kind of a homologated engine situation. But Alan Brzezinski is still running Hemi stuff, Dodge stuff, and I think some of it is your old stuff. From what I hear, the 10.5 engine RPM rule hurt the Dodges more than it hurt anyone else. And do you agree with that? He's coming back. It looks like he's figuring it out. He's finding some power. I'd just like to know your thoughts on that, and if you see that combination being able to come back and be competitive. Alan Brzezinski, not your son Alan, but what do you see for that combination? Because he's got his fans, and they're flying the flag. And just like we started off this show talking about, like, there are people that are Dodge in the heart, and they don't care. They're not switching.
I think that the 10.5 rule, I don't think that done anything for it. I think we had tailored the cylinder heads on our engine to run a higher RPM limit, and us not having a solid sponsor, and about that time Dodge, they dropped the bullet. And my thinking would be the cylinder head needs to be totally different. And just before that all Dodge left us, I've got a casting at the house, the new head that me and some others, it never was produced. We just had a sample for me to fit on the motor and tweak and do. And I think that would have been the answer. It would still be the answer, but Dodge is not around to
make it happen anymore.
But, along about in 16, the fuel injection was 16, along about early 17, I was brought this up, try to get that head casted and get going on a new direction.
Right.
And Dodge said, well, we're not spending no money on it, that's you. we'll give you a number if you want to do it and see get it approved by the NHRA. Well, we wasn't going to spend the money on it. So everything pointed to a dead end road for us.
Right.
So the last when we quit, 17, I believe, the latter part, all I used was just leftover parts and just not without spending much money.
And what would it take to get that cylinder head going again for those? Because multiple combinations. If it's just one cylinder head casting away, people would be into that. Crowdfunded.
First off, the engineer that did that in Dodge, I don't know, they probably own the patent.
Probably so. Probably have the IP on it.
You'd have to go back, and it is totally my thinking, a different approach. And where it work or not, I don't know, but I think it would give us the area that we were lacking with fuel injection.
Right.
The Chevys always produced a little more torque down low.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the direction we were pointing to try to bring some of this back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my thought. Where it would work or not, I don't know. But anyway, it's a plastic casting on the shelf.
Somewhere, yeah, exactly. Well, I know the Dodge guys were kind of cool about that because I remember meeting Ted when I worked for Melling because we were one of the Dodge NASCAR teams. And they even brought us like 3D printed manifolds.
Oh yeah, I've got
plastic manifolds and things, and that was in 2001.
Yeah,
and just did some. They were very innovative when they were full on in motorsports. They had some real drive to them. Seemed like
the early engineers. When I say early, I'm talking about through the mid 2010, 8, long in there. I mean, if I mention something, they refine it that night and tell me, "Well, you're crazy," or "That looks good."
Right.
We're going to research it a little further, and that helped us keep.
Oh yeah. Helped
us keep up.
We had an air cleaner, right? Because the NASCAR deal, you had the air inlet at the back of the hood, right? We had some ideas on that. They actually did a CFD model. It took them 24 hours for the computer to process to make this CFD model of how the air moved over the hood, up the windshield, down into the cowl. So the idea you had before was that you had this cowl, you were trying to capture air, thinking that it's on the hood, it's going to drop in, you're trying to capture it. No. All the air was coming down the windshield. So you made this cowl that would basically take the air down the windshield and try to make it as smooth as possible. So you didn't have that big lip where it would detach, make it flow. And then we made like a floor so the air cleaner would sit in it. So it didn't have to go over the step. I mean, they would just, again, they took sometimes 24 hours for them to do a CFD model, but then you knew for certain whether or not that was a good idea or not.
Yeah. Well, that's like they just grew this head I'm talking about. It's plastic, got all the bolt holes in it, everything.
Yep.
That I could set right on the block and say, "Oh, this ain't gonna work. We're gonna have to move it." And that was my part in it. They'd take the idea and they'd go it and grow it, and then how does that fit on the motor? Right. Oh, this is gonna have to be moved. We got a problem there. But I was so excited about it, but we never got off first base with it.
Well, speaking of 3D printing, that's what that was. Tomorrow we will have a segment. Charles Navarro will be sitting right here with me and you, Joe.
Excellent.
Talking about 3D printing, and he's got some examples too. So.
Oh, can't wait! Can't wait.
Little sneak ahead for tomorrow.
Tell your friends, engineperformanceexpo.com. Yeah, I'm hoping that people are logged on all day long for some of the great moments we've already had. But I can't let it go, man. So we're just one cylinder head away from maybe Dodge being competitive again in Pro Stock. We got to get that to happen. Who do I talk to? Who do I pressure? Who do I tell? Make the cylinder head. Come on, let's do it.
Well, nobody in Dodge. My last words was we don't want nothing to do with Pro Stock.
Yeah, well, things change.
It happens. Seasons come around,
People
right?
People change their minds.
Yeah.
So what you been doing since you stopped Pro Stock racing?
I've just been honeydews.
There you go.
No, you guys got a factory showdown car for a little while.
We had that for a little while, but
what was that like?
Step back in time. Hell, I'm too old now. I can't work on it.
Right. Well, dealing with that's the challenge of those things. They're super quick. They're super fast. They're awesome, but they're hard to work on because it's a real car. Fenders on, all of that.
Oh, that was after being used to the Pro car.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't take it.
Yeah.
Alan gave me that drag pack for Christmas, and I tried to work on it some, and I'm just so stiff, and plus I just didn't enjoy that hard work anymore. That kind of hard work.
Yeah, it's not. If you want to be competitive in that, you can buy that car and go race it, and it's fun and it's quick and it's great. If you want to run in factory showdown, it's just like what you guys had to do with it.
It's
You have
super
to take
competitive.
everything apart
God.
and build it back up from scratch, and you're racer way.
You got to refine it every day, 24/7. No matter how good you are today at doing that, tomorrow you can do it a little better.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of room for improvement.
Yeah, and that was taking that motor in and out. I never did it. I said, Alan, if you want that motor in and out, you do it, or get somebody else to do it. I'd help hold sometime, but I ain't taking all that crap. Them bolts you just couldn't hardly get to.
Oh yeah, some of these things, like whoever designed this thing, they were never going to work on it.
Right. That's for sure.
Well, and that's the truth all the time. I think we talked about that on Hidden Horsepower.
Yeah.
What was it like running the boosted stuff? Being an NA guy and then switching to supercharged. That had to be kind of an interesting transition.
The first time I pulled it on the dyno, it scared me. I thought it was blowing up. That thing make 900 foot-pounds of torque.
Wow.
Oh, I couldn't believe
How
that.
many cubic inches were?
350.
354. So
Yeah.
3 foot-pounds essentially per cubic inch.
I said, I didn't make a full pull. I just pulled. I said, everything was smoking, Well, see, the blower makes so much heat,
Yeah.
and I just hadn't seen nothing like it. Alan said, what's wrong? And I said, hell, I think it's blowing up. But it made I made 1,300 horsepower and 925 foot-pounds of torque, and I didn't know what it was doing. I just was just trying to learn.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why it's one of the popular new categories, relatively new. People, it's modern, it's something people can relate to, and the kids, they love the boosted stuff one way or another.
Oh yeah, that's the thing, right? I mean, it's a boosted age with the Pro Charger, superchargers, turbochargers. It's the computer technology. It seems like has enabled what we've kind of known for a long time, that mechanically supercharging something can make it more powerful.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But now you have the ability to control it so much better that it's not as risky maybe as it used to be, or the reliability is so much better.
Yeah, it sure, you could tear up a lot of parts especially if you didn't get the intercooler turned on, to circulate the water. Alan come back when we're running. We was in Atlanta. He came back, and I said, Alan's missing, it's smoking. Why it ain't missing? I said, yeah, it is. He burned a hole right through the piston, the cylinder wall, and everything.
The intercooler's kind of important. Okay.
Yeah.
But,
Note to self. To self. The fuel injection move. A lot of people still to this day think it was a mistake, perhaps. I want your opinion on that. I've been watching them. We just talked with John Causey about the air inlet being right on the track, so much hotter. We have yet to eclipse the previous ET record and speed record pre-fuel injection. But they're tuning with computers. It's interesting. Maybe there's a new wave of tuners coming in. When you look back on that, and you didn't get the cylinder head that you thought would have worked best with that combination, but what are your thoughts looking back?
well, one, I'm sorry that I didn't jump right into computer tuning earlier. I let Alan do that because he's a computer guru, and he's 20 years younger than I am. And so I'm sorry for that. But since then, I've gotten more involved with just street stuff, doing street work. I think probably NHRA should have done that 5 years sooner, or maybe sooner than that.
20 years sooner.
Maybe.
The guy in the other room was pushing it in 1990, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think had they had made the change back then and used throttle body instead of what they did and left the hood scoop on it, I think everybody, the public, would have loved it.
Right, I think you're spot on. I mean, it's the Expo deal last year. Ben Strader did a combination, right? So same LS engine, Holley Dominator versus their Sniper EFI, throttle body injection, made the exact same power.
Well,
by just swapping them. But yeah, then you wouldn't have to change the look of the car or any of that. You could have had all the advantages of EFI without having to do all that other change if you just had done a throttle body.
Well, you look at the cost of just changing the hood, front end.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and of course, you know, the segment right now is brought to you by Holley, what they have been able to do with the person at home, right, who just wants to bolt something on and have it learn and have it perform at its maximum. That is amazing. And to make that connection, like the person who watches Pro Stock who's got a project car at home and then I want to have that and say that it's the same, to have a carburetor on there in the year 2021, that, to me, it just doesn't make sense anymore.
Well, I'm just finished a project last week, and it was throttle body fuel injection. And I didn't even know nothing about the system when we started. But just a phone call or two, and a couple of days later, we were right there with it. You know,
Right.
Made 600 and some foot-pounds of torque and 600 and some horsepower.
Right.
It was throttle body.
Yeah, that sniper system they have with the throttle body, you don't even need a laptop. When
It's
the
got
bit
a little, little old digital thing.
yeah, it's like smaller than your phone.
Yeah.
Done.
So you wish you had dived into the computer stuff earlier.
Yes. I was doing engines, and I thought if I can do the best I can on the engine, let somebody else worry about all of that other.
Right.
To be fair, the computers didn't work as well back then. You know, we are benefiting from the hindsight of the best computers we've ever had, and they're super fast and they're super user-friendly, and everyone's got it all dialed in now. Back then, it wouldn't have been nearly as easy.
No, but at least I know how to turn the darn things on and off.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't too
But
good.
that's the regret I had.
Right. But again, that's part of what the expo is about, is sharing that. It's like, hey, listen, you need to jump into the computer stuff now.
Yes.
Don't hide from it. Embrace it.
Yeah.
I know one of the segments coming up later today is Samtec and their CNC programming. So we know that CNC machines help things be more repeatable, increase productivity, but you got to learn how to program it.
Yep.
And so you just embrace it. Don't hide from it. Jump into that technology is what I'm hearing you say.
Yep, that's exactly. You know, I was in the dealership service manager when it started coming on the street, and I told my boys, always do the electrical. Make sure what you're going to be doing if you stay in this. Some of them did, and some of them still in it. Some
Right.
of them fell by the wayside.
Yeah, makes sense. So, Pro Stock. Are you guys done? Is
We're
there
done.
any inkling, any thought, like, hey, power is available, and you could call Jerry Haas tomorrow, and who knows, you guys could be back in it just like you did the first time.
No.
That chapter's closed.
That chapter's closed. I've got Alan's little brother's got a little S10 pickup truck he runs brackets with. and
Nice.
That's all I need.
Yeah, there you go. That's
I got you. Are we going to see you at the Thunder Valley Nationals this weekend?
I doubt it.
Really? You
Yeah.
going to come hang out with us?
I
He's
think,
hanging out here today, apparently.
Yeah.
That works good enough for me.
No, I like to see my friends, but for the rest of it, no.
I got you.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Roy, it was great. Like, this was great having you here, and I appreciate it. And this is what Hidden Horsepower is really all
Oh, this
about.
is. And that's what the podcast is all about, is being able to have somebody like yourself come and share your story and communicate that passion and let people understand what it really takes to do this. Because people aspire to this kind of stuff, but what does it really take to do it? I mean, you showed it today. Everything about it. This is like, if you could encapsulate what Hidden Horsepower is about and what this industry is about, man, you shared it. So thank you so much for
Well, I'm glad you asked me to come.
Was there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't touch on? We got it all.
I think you got it all.
We
and then
got it
some.
all. Way to go, Larry.
There we go.
That's what we
Awesome.
do. That's how we do. Roy, thank you very much. Appreciate you. This was
Thank you
just
for having me.
amazing, and that's what the Engine Performance Expo is all about. All right, coming up next, Tech 101, feeds, speeds, and lube. I am super excited about it. You should be too. What a day, what a day, what a day. My brain is swollen. I've learned so much today. They told us, don't start cars. We are not going to listen.